Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is November 15, 2025. I do know what day it is, Saturday. And we are on Eastern time here in Keene, New Hampshire. So come on into the classroom while you are doing that. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Rebecca, Becky Montrone. I have a business. We have a business here. I'm not alone, thank God. Wondrous Roots. So I am a holistic healthcare practitioner with a degree in nutrition, a holistic nutrition, and which means I'm not a dietitian. I look at things much differently, much more broadly. Let's put it that way. And I'm also an herbalist. So I herbal formulator, herbalist, studied herbal medicine, and make a lot of things here. So my work is sort of, well, it's kind of many pronged, but two major ones. And one is consulting with people over their health issues. And I use all kinds of modalities to do that, such as lifestyle, if lifestyle changes need to be done, exercise, dietary change, um, exercise, whatever. Also, I think I just said that. I work with nutrients a lot. So I work with vitamins, minerals, amino acids. I use bioidentical hormones such as DHEA and bioidentical progesterone, that kind of thing. And I work with people of all ages, and I work with people with all manner of health conditions. That doesn't mean that I'm the answer to everything, but I call myself think of myself as a health detective. And I can, if I don't think I can help, or maybe I can be a part of it, I can also maybe point you in a good direction. So I think that's it as far as what I do. I've been in practice for 20 years, so I'm rather experienced. I'm getting to be an old lady here. And we actually I founded the business in 2005. So it's actually a 20-year mark. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, we're open here in our physical location, 9:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, on the third floor of the Miller Forge building up on Roxbury Street, which is in downtown Keene. We have plenty of free parking. We have elevator access, and 9:30 to 5. Our phone number is 603-439-2603. And you can reach out to me personally from either of our websites, shopwondrousroots.com, which is our online store. We also have a full shop here with nutritional supplements and the products that I make, as well as others that I stock from other companies. Or wondrousroots.org, which is where you find a lot of this educational information that I put there. So I think of that as my primary educational resource. Always wanted to do that on a website so that I could keep building as I worked and gained information rather than just adding it to my personal files and then retelling everybody about it when I meet with them over and over again. It's just so nice when somebody asks me about cancer or Parkinson's disease or something, I can say, see my page and blah, 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 blah. So I'm really thrilled with that. And that just keeps building as a database. So I'm really happy about that. Okay, so yeah, I think that's just about it. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble for the first time, perhaps you should be able to, in the video description, find a way to get to my website. I'm sure I always put that there. And then you can find a way to sign up to receive the newsletter that I send out. It's like an email announcement every Saturday morning about what my topic's going to be. And you can sign up to receive those yourself, so you're always made aware. Okay, so I think that's it. Been kind of down a road of body parts lately, and started with we did hair, we did skin dermatomes because of that little injury I had, which was so interesting. And then hair, because we were talking about dermatomes, derma, skin. I'm like, let's do skin. So we did that. And I said after that I wanted to do the lymphatic system. And boy, this was a real eye opener for me. I mean, I basically understand what lymph is for and how to keep it flowing and why it's important, but I think it's going to really I hope you don't mind. If you guys understand, I'm a bit of a nerd and I really went the nerd depth with this one. But I think for me anyway, of course, I'm interested in all this stuff, but so are you, or you wouldn't be here. Um, so just admit it. But when you understand the complexity and really how things work, it gives you a better idea of even like why it's important. Well, it's like kind of like drinking water, like, right? That's like a simple example. You're like, well, I know I should drink more water, but I'll do that later until you do an in-depth dive into why you need more water. And then you're like, whoa, I better drink more water. So, anyway, without further ado, I will introduce the lymphatic system to you, a Wondrous Roots style. Okay, share my screen. Okay, bear with me for 1 second. I always have to do this. Let's see. There we go. Get rid of that and rid of that. And now share my screen. Whoops. Oh, thanks, Katie. She says she's grateful for my nerdiness. Great. That's wonderful because yeah, I know. It's fascinating. I get fascinated and then I get really excited about it and then I can't wait to come in here and share it. So I'm glad that you guys love it too. So, okay, let me get my participants over here to there where I can see you and then the chat so I don't miss any comments. Again, if you want to participate, go down to the wherever it's seen on yours. You can type into the chat. You can type into the Q&A, and you can also click to you can do speak somehow there, and then I'll watch for raised hands and call on you, and then we can talk. You can be seen or heard, whichever you prefer. It's all up to you. Okay, I think that does it. Okay, off we go. Lymphatic system health, boost immunity, detox naturally, and prevent cancer. Understanding your body's cleansing and immune network, how flow protects, nourishes, and heals. And you look at some of these pictures of the lymph system, right? It is crazy how much area they cover. And I put that into my email announcement, but I'm going to say it again in a second. So the lymphatic system is a vast network of vessels, nodes, and organs that serve as the body's secondary circulatory system. It collects excess fluid, proteins, and waste from tissues, filters them through lymph nodes for immune inspection, and returns the cleansed lymph, the fluid called lymph, to the bloodstream. So its primary responsibilities are fluid balance, prevents tissue swelling by returning fluid to the circulation. So that's really cool how that happens, and I explain that shortly. Immune defense, it transports and activates immune cells to fight infection. Nutrient absorption, it carries fats and fat-soluble nutrients from the digestive tract into the bloodstream. So cool. All right, now I'm going to mess around with my slide height. The big picture, what lymph is and why it exists. It's the third fluid space, if you will. Blood plasma leaves capillaries, becomes interstitial fluid, bathing the cells. 10%, around 10% of that fluid, plus proteins, lipids, fats, and cell debris, must be returned to circulation as lymph, or tissues would swell, and proteins would accumulate. What lymph contains then is water, albumin, which is protein and other plasma proteins, immune cells, your lymphocytes, cell fragments, microbes, antigens, fats as cyclomicrons after meals. So it's so interesting because your saturated fats, like butter, animal lard, right? The ones we're supposed to dread and not eat, they enter through the lymph. And your polyunsaturates, your inflammatory oils, but the so-called vegetable oils that, according to the American Heart Association, et cetera, in their faulty understanding, tell you they are the ones that go from the blood to the liver and promote fat formation. Just a little side freebie there in information. So the core jobs again are fluid balance, returns 2 to 4 liters a day to the venous system, to your bloodstream. Protein salvage recaptures leaked protein, so onconic pressure is maintained. Immune surveillance, transport antigens and immune cells to lymph nodes for inspection. So we're going to get into that more deeply, but basically it's like, ooh, guys, we need to find out what's here. We're going to send you to the lymph nodes. You're going to find out if there's something up there trapped that needs to be dealt with. It's like this amazing communication system in the body. The whole vascular lymph, interstitial fluid system, all of that, they all work together and they all need to be working properly for things to be in balance. So that's why keeping ourselves healthy is super important. Because when one suffers, the other's going to suffer, right? Okay. Fat transport. Intestinal lacteals absorb long-chain fats into lymph-thoracic duct bloodstream. Okay. All right. This is kind of creepy. It looks like something out of the ocean, right? Like picked up all this seaweed. But how much lymphatic plumbing do we have? The human body contains an astonishing 100,000 to 150,000 miles of lymphatic vessels. One human body, roughly 4 to 5 times the length of the blood vascular system's capillaries. They're everywhere except in a few places: the bone marrow, the cartilage, the eyes, cornea, and the central nervous system. Though the central nervous system has its own version, the glymphatic system, which was really recently discovered, and we'll get into that towards the end. So anyway, here's some perspective. If your lymph vessels were stretched end to end, they could wrap around the earth 4 to 6 times. Whoa. I mean, wrap your head around that. In my body, you've got to be kidding. The areas that are richest in the lymph vessels and nodes are the skin, especially the dermis. We talked about the skin last time. Among the densest networks, this is why dry brushing and gentle movement make such a visible difference. I did not know that till I prepared this. I was like, I didn't know what the whole dry brushing thing was all about. I'm like, well, that sounds nice, wholesome, holistic. I was like, I wasn't realizing that because I was thinking of the lymph system being deeper than the skin in my mind. Maybe you were too. Like that's why I love like deep diving into this stuff, because just my own preconceptions that were wrong is really kind of fun to find out. So now I'm more like, I've got a brush like that in my bathroom, right? But I think I've maybe used it once because I heard it was good, but it's like just one more thing to do before you, as you're getting ready for your day. So I've never really done that. This is why dry brushing and gentle movement makes such a visible difference. Gut, the intestinal villi, those little hairs in the intestines, and mesentery, home to lacteals for fat absorption in the majority of immune lymphoid tissue, which is in the gut, the Peyer's patches. We're going to get into those in a few minutes. Lungs, there's a vast lymph network defending against inhaled pathogens. So important, right? Because we breathe in stuff all the time. That's how we pick up viruses and colds and flu and all that kind of stuff. We're breathing it in, and it's not always through the lungs that we take them in. Sometimes it's just through the mucosa of the nasal passages or whatever, but that's why we have tonsils and adenoids, by the way. They're important. They're part of the lymphatic system too. Oh, you don't need those. Yeah, you do need those. The neck, the axilla, the armpits, and the groin, clusters of superficial lymph nodes where major drainage converges. The spleen and the liver, internally rich in lymphatic sinusoids, filtering blood and producing lymphocytes. Yeah, did you ever well, liver. We're very familiar with the liver. But also, what we should really be talking about there too is the thymus, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the spleen, do you ever really wonder what is the spleen really all about? And I know the spleen can really get enlarged in lymphoma, or I know the spleen can really get enlarged in mononucleosis, right? But did you ever think why? Right? It's all about the lymphatic system doing its job. Brain and spinal cord. Well, not in lymphoma. That's because you have too many lymphocytes, but we won't get off on that bunny trail. Brain and spinal cord. Recently recognized meningeal lymphatic vessels help clear metabolic waste. The glymphatic system. Very, very cool. And it does that, we're going to find out while you're sleeping, which is another reason sleep is so important, healthy sleep. So the body fluid compartments, trying to just sort of give a simple diagram here. You have your intracellular fluid inside cells where metabolism occurs, and about 2/3 of the body's water is in this intracellular fluid, which is inside your body's cells. Then you have the interstitial fluid, which is outside the cell. It's very interesting because back during COVID, I had on the radio with me a doctor from out west who's quite famous, and he was talking about the importance in COVID of the interstitial fluid and how COVID really did its damage by what it did to the interstitial fluid. So anyway, this is between cells. It's the exchange zone for nutrients and waste. Plasma in the bloodstream carries nutrients, gases, and hormones. So that's the blood fluid. So, the blood plasma part of the blood, the plasma, the fluid part of the blood. Together, they form a dynamic fluid continuum with the lymphatic system ensuring balance between them. Right, because when there's too much here, it takes it and puts it back into the bloodstream. That's why, if you get swelling from an injury, your lymph system really goes to work to take that excess fluid, put it back into the bloodstream. So the interstitial fluid, I was a little bit more intrigued by that, so I had to do a little bit more, do another bit of info on that. The cellular environment, the interstitial fluid is the thin layer of liquid that surrounds and bathes every cell in the body. Formed when blood plasma seeps through capillary walls, it delivers oxygen, nutrients, and hormones to the cells and collects carbon dioxide, waste, and debris in return. So you've got to have in the body always this intake and outflow, right? We've got to take in nutrients all over the body through a number of systems, but we have to also get rid of waste efficiently. And so it's very important. The whole body needs to breathe in nutrients, nourishment, and breathe out debris and toxins. It's that constant being able to do that throughout every system in the body that keeps us healthy and maintains homeostasis. Most of the fluid is reabsorbed into nearby veins, but the remainder enters lymphatic capillaries to become lymph, ensuring tissues stay balanced, nourished, and clear. So your interstitial fluid is always in motion, right? It's not always the same interstitial fluid. It's moving always. Some of the fluid stays as interstitial fluid, some becomes lymph, some is in the bloodstream. It just keeps flowing like back here. And then just to be thorough, I wanted to talk about the transcellular fluid. So here's another really good kind of diagram to show you how this all works inside your body. So you've got your plasma and a blood vessel here. You've got the capillary wall. The capillary wall is where the plasma comes out and forms interstitial fluid. interstitial fluid than the transcellular fluid. It's sort of like it says a small specialized portion of the extracellular fluid found in body cavities and secretions, such as cerebrospinal fluid, synovial fluid, like cerebrospinal, right? Your spine, your brain, synovial, like the synovial fluid, your knees, that kind of thing, the pleural, the lung fluid, and digestive fluids. It's enclosed by epithelial membranes serving roles in lubrication, cushioning, and protection rather than nutrient exchange, like think your knees, or that synovial fluid. So fluid leaves plasma at the arterial ends of capillaries because the outward force of hydrostatic pressure predominates. The fluid returns to plasma at venular ends of the capillaries because the inward force of colloid osmotic pressure predominates. So you have it come out and then it goes back in. Hydrostatic pressure within interstitial spaces forces fluid into lymph capillaries. Interstitial fluid is in equilibrium with transcellular and intracellular fluids, so they maintain a balance. They maintain an important balance. And there we have again lymph flow. You start here, afferent lymphatics, afferents. Where are they? Right here. To carry lymph to the lymph node from peripheral tissues, the afferent lymphatics penetrate the capsule of the lymph node on the side opposite the helium. Not like helium balloon, but helium, it looks like. And here's the helium. And so it's on the opposite side. The afferent vessels deliver lymph to the subcapsular space, which is here. A meshwork of reticular fibers, macrophages, and dendritic cells. Dendritic cells are involved in the initiation of the immune response. The lymph next flows into the outer cortex, which contains B cells within germinal centers that resemble those of lymphoid nodules. Lymph then flows through lymph sinuses into the deep cortex, which is dominated by T cells. You'll recognize those as immune cells. Lymph continues into the medullary sinus. At the core of the lymph node, this region contains B cells and plasma cells. And then the efferent lymphatics, to bring out, leave the lymph node at the helium, here. So it comes in here, does all this stuff in the lymph node, and then exits. These vessels collect lymph from the medullary sinus and carry it toward the venous circulation. So going back through, you got all this flow going through, goes through the lymph nodes, blah, 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 blah. What needs to go back into the bloodstream does, brings that fluid back into the bloodstream and keeps your tissues balanced so they're not swollen. Lymph flow works differently than blood flow. Unlike blood, lymph has no central pump like the heart. Its flow depends on a gentle rhythm generated both within the vessels and by our own movement. The vessel walls contain smooth muscle that rhythmically contracts in wave-like pulses, much like the peristalsis that moves through food through the intestines. You don't make that happen. You don't feel it. It's just this gentle movement that keeps things moving. Like the small intestine, right, where you absorb most of your nutrients into the bloodstream, the lion's share of your nutrients into the bloodstream. The small intestine is really narrow compared to the colon, and the peristalsis movement is much faster because it's trying to make those nutrients move into the bloodstream from there. So this peristalsis is a similar type of movement that happens in the lymphatic system circulation. This intrinsic motion keeps lymph steadily advancing. At the same time, extrinsic forces such as muscle contractions, deep breathing, posture changes, and even arterial pulsations further propel lymph along its one-way path. So your healthy circulation in your cardiovascular system is important. And then you're moving your body. right? Getting up and moving, exercising, breathing. So deep breathing exercises. We're going to look later on at some ways that we can very easily keep the lymph system or support the lymph system in healthy function. So the anatomy of lymph flow, tracing the river beneath the surface. The lymphatic structures, you have the thymus and the spleen, which are these organs that are very important. Lymph nodes, lymphatic ducts, lymphatic vessels. So let's look at the thymus. The thymus is located right there in the thorax. And you've got your thyroid here. You can see your lungs, very easy to see where that is. But do you think about your thymus? Like I never really do. The thymus is the training academy for T cells, one of the most important types of immune cells. Immature T cells arrive here from the bone marrow. So the bone marrow is part of the lymphatic system as well. You know, which is why these bone marrow diseases are lymphomas, right? Makes all the sense in the world. Immature T cells arrive here from the bone marrow. The thymus educates them to recognize what is self and what is danger, right? This is the enemy. This is not. Don't attack your own tissues in an autoimmune response here. Like, let's get educated so that that you know what you're doing, you T cells. Only the safest, most effective cells graduate and enter the lymphatic circulation. So this is kind of like boot camp. You know, you got to go through the boot camp of the thymus if you want to be, graduate and move on and enlist and be part of the Marines or whatever. Why it matters for lymph. The thymus helps create the quality control of the immune system. Without properly trained T cells, lymph nodes couldn't respond effectively to what the lymph brings them. Everything's connected. So cool. So now the spleen. Spleen is over here. You've got your liver here, right? Your stomach here. Your intestines and colon here, lungs. And over here's the gallbladder, that little piece right there. But your spleen's over here under the left rib cage. So right rib cage, gallbladder, liver, left rib cage, spleen. The spleen is the body's largest lymphatic organ and acts like a combined flood filter and immune surveillance center. It filters old or damaged red blood cells out of the bloodstream. It traps pathogens circulating in the blood. So you picked up some sort of virus or bacteria. It activates both B cells and T cells to respond to infections. Why it matters for the lymph, although it filters blood rather than lymph, the spleen works hand in hand with the lymphatic and immune systems, providing rapid immune response and helping maintain clean, healthy circulation. So again, I don't want to go too deep into all of that, but you've got here, again, you can see where that is. And sort of looks like a kidney bean. So other lymphoid organs include the tonsils and adenoids. These are the immune system's first responders at the entrance to the throat and nasal passages, right? They're like guards. They're like, whoa, 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 you ain't getting past me. Stop, show your ID. They sample what we breathe and swallow, catching pathogens early and activating immune defenses. Then you have these Peyer's patches down here in the gut. That sounds so cool, Peyer's patches. Sounds like sort of Beatrix pottery or something. But, that's just my imagination. Gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or GALT. clusters of immune tissue lining the small intestine. They constantly monitor the gut environment, learning from our microbiome and defending against harmful microbes, critical for whole body immune balance. Then there's the appendix. Oh, you don't need that. A small lymphoid-rich pouch off the cecum, which is the first part of the large intestine, that acts as a safe house for beneficial gut bacteria and supports gut immunity, especially after infection or antibiotic use. So that appendix has its role to play too. Can you get along without your tonsils, adenoids, and appendix? I'm sure you can get along without your gallbladder, but do you work optimally better if those are all working well? Well, the obvious answer is, of course. So we have our lymph nodes, we have the appendix, we have the bone marrow, Peyer's patches, spleen, thymus, and your tonsils and adenoids. Did you know that? Like, think about it. It's really quite remarkable. Everything working together. So the lymphatic capillaries, the tiny open-ended vessels that let extra fluid and protein slip in when the tissues swell. Kind of see all of these things all intertwined. Here you have your arterial circulation, right, which oxygenates, and then you have your venous circulation, which detoxifies, sort of like, and they all keep going you go from the heart, and then, yeah, we'll go more into that. It's kind of a little side Benny on this one. Your interstitial fluid here. Body tissues, interstitial fluid, the valves. Then let's look at the lymphatic vessel itself. These join into bigger tubes with one-way valves that keep lymph moving forward. Their little segments act like tiny pumps. Now, one of the reasons rebounding really helps move lymph is that there are a lot of these valves in the upper thighs, and the gentle bounce, the anti-gravity of that gentle bounce opens and closes, opens and closes. It's a huge boon to lymphatic circulation. Then you have the lymph node itself. Small filtering stations along the vessels. Lymph enters, gets inspected by immune cells, then exits cleaner. I'm going to flip back here for a second. Just go back to here. So you see all of that. You've got lymph nodes, and then you've got the lymph valve, you've got the, yeah, all of the various parts. Doesn't it kind of make you feel creepy a little bit to think, oh, my goodness. I mean, it's something we're just so unconscious of. It's happening all the time. Okay. The main drainage routes of the lymph are the right lymphatic duct, drains the right arm, the right chest, and the right side of the head. The thoracic duct drains everything else. It's the major highway. So the thoracic duct is right up here in the thorax area near the thymus. The thoracic duct ascends along the vertebral body, so along the spine. In the superior thorax, it turns left and empties into the venous circulation at the junction of the internal jugular and left subclavian veins. Right here. So, how does the lymph move without a heart? Intrinsic pumping, again, smooth muscle and collectors, rhythmically contracts. Each lymphangione is a tiny pump timed by stretch and autonomic input. Extrinsic thoracic pumps, which is your lifestyle, again, skeletal muscle contraction. So walking, rebounding, stretching, diaphragmatic breathing, pressure gradients, milk the central lymph, and then arterial pulsation and tissue movement. Valves enforce one-way flow. Flow slows at nodes to allow immune processing. Starling forces 101. Capillary hydrostatic pressure pushes fluid out. Plasma oncano pressure pulls it back. When proteins accumulate interstitially in that interstitial fluid, water follows and equals edema or swelling, swollen ankles, whatever, lymphedema from maybe having had lymph nodes removed because you had breast cancer or something like that, or we'll talk a little bit about that in a second too. As an aside, just because I know you're as fascinated as I am, arteries deliver oxygen-rich blood from the heart with high pressure. Veins, venous flow, return oxygen-poor blood to the heart using valves, muscles, and breathing to keep low pressure blood moving. So you get this beautiful, everything flowing together. The lymph and immune system integration. How immune alerts travel. When something suspicious shows up in a tissue, like a virus or bacteria, special immune cells pick it up and carry it into the nearby lymph node. I picture these things all with like smiles and glasses on and stuff, you know. What happens inside that'd be like a children's book, right? Version. What happens inside the node? Other immune cells within the node examine the invader. Let's take a look. Multiply. We need more of us to deal with this one. Gear up to fight. Making antibodies or activating killer cells is needed. What is this? Stroking the beard. Let's make more of us. What do we need to do? Do we need to, what does this one need? Antibodies, or do we need to activate killer cells? What does this one need? There's so much going on in that one little lymph node, right? What leaves the node then is the lymph that flows out, carries these newly activated, ready to work immune cells back into the bloodstream. So you've got this new potentized fluid coming out of that lymph node. How to interpret swollen nodes. Tender, swollen nodes usually mean the immune system is actively responding to something. It's a good sign of function. You're like, oh no, I have swollen lymph nodes. It's like, well, yeah, oh no, I must be sick, right? But, oh good, I've got swollen lymph nodes because that means my body's dealing with it. Hard, fixed, non-tender nodes are less common and may warrant further evaluation. Okay. All right. Why do I have swollen glands? A closer look at what's happening behind the scenes. Infections, number one, the biggest cause by far. Colds, flu, mono, COVID, respiratory syncytial virus, cytomegalovirus, bacterial, strep throat, ear infections, sinus infections, dental infections, skin infections, cuts, scrapes, cellulitis near a regional node, localized infections like a hangnail or an ingrown hair or an insect bite. Lymphadenitis, you might have something like when you have an autoimmune flare of, say, like of rheumatoid arthritis or of lupus or something like that, you might end up with some swollen nodes from that. Generalized inflammation in the body, strong immune response from a vaccination. And sometimes I think they tell you that you might have that response. You know me. Okay, I can't leave well enough alone. Okay. You might have a local irritation or injury, right? Recent dental work or even shaving or waxing irritation, folliculitis from an ingrown hair or something like that. Sprains, muscle injury or strain in an area that drains to those nodes. That might be something that you wouldn't think of, right? I wouldn't really. Like I would think of something more like, I mean, I can get the dental work because it's all right up in there, but I probably wouldn't think if I sprained my ankle that the lymph, I would think I would get swelling, to the tissues, but I wouldn't really think of the lymph nodes swelling. Chronic infections like Lyme disease, tuberculosis, fungal infections, toxoplasmosis, which you get from cat litter, right? Cat scratch disease, Bartonella, those darned cats. Not everybody loves them. Well, not everybody. Allergic reaction or sensitivities, right? Environmental allergies, food reactions, chemical exposure, rare but possible. Sometimes, again, another rare thing, but some medications might, certain seizure medications, some antibiotics, or anti-thyroid drugs, very uncommon, like methimazole, which they use like to turn down a, but I haven't actually looked that up, like if methimazole does that, so don't quote me on it. And then benign growths or cysts near the lymph nodes, like you might have a cyst develop in, like say you had a cyst develop like behind your ear or something like that, right? You're very likely to get a swollen lymph node because you're so rich with lymph nodes right there. So in summary, in most cases, swollen nodes reflect immune system engagement, not disease. They swell because they're doing their job, filtering, trapping, and responding. Cancer-related swollen nodes tend to be firm, non-tender, fixed in place, persistent, or growing, not the tender, mobile, reactive nodes people usually feel. When lymph slows down, and it's so interesting, like I use this image because I often tell people that when the reason we use lymphatic supporting herbs and lymphatic supporting techniques when we have cancer is because people with cancer have sludge-like lymph. It's thick and sludgy and not flowing very fast. Isn't that a great image for it? I thought so. Functional congestion, very common. When your lifestyle isn't helping lymph move, too much sitting, shallow breathing, dehydration, or high inflammation, fluid can build up in the tissues. You may notice puffiness, heavy legs or arms, dull skin, brain fog, or more frequent infections. So people who are generally sedentary, which would also, make it important for, say, if a person, is immobilized, right? Maybe they're paralyzed or maybe they're bedridden or something like that, how important it is to do other things that support the lymph. And I'll bet you many times that's overlooked. Although I think a lot of times, nurses and stuff know that you need to get massage, you need to get moving and, things like that. But it would be something for yourself if that happened to you or someone you know or love or whatever to make sure that you're doing other things to support the lymph flow. So lymphedema, a structural problem, can be really unbelievably monstrous. And you can see there, this can actually happen. This happens when the lymphatic vessels or nodes are damaged or missing and can't move fluid properly. Primary, you're born with underdeveloped vessels or valves, God help you. Secondary, caused by surgery, radiation trauma, serious infection, tumors, or long-term vein problems. How it progresses. Stage 0 feels heavy or full, but no visible swelling yet. Stage 1, soft, pitting swelling that improves with elevation. Stage 2, swelling becomes firmer. Tissue starts to harden. Stage 3, significant swelling and skin changes. The basic care approach, the most effective treatment is complete decongestive therapy, manual lymph drainage, compression, gentle exercise, careful skin care. I had a woman want to purchase for a friend of hers my lymphatic system support formula and told me about this woman. And then I called her, and it was the most tragic tale. She was very, what do I want to say, she didn't have much money. And she would go to the hospital and they would drain lymph. She had lymphedema. She told me she had 300 pounds of fluid. She could not get out of bed. And I told her, as tragic that I don't think my lymph fluid is going to really make much of a dent in this. I'm willing to send it to you and you can try it. I also sent her some of the bioenergy discs for lymph circulation, and because of her lack of coverage, medical care coverage, she could not get the proper care she needed from the medical industry. I mean, that is really sad. I have to say, but I mean, this can be very severe, but sometimes people have women will have like lymphedema in the arm of the side of the area where they had maybe a mastectomy with lymph node removal. And that's very common. And I have seen our lymphatic system support formula work quite effectively for that stage lymphedema. Edema meaning swelling, right? Cancer in the lymphatic system. So cancer cells enter lymph easily because the vessels are soft, open, and low pressure. Lymph nodes are filters. They often catch and destroy many of those cells. A positive node means local involvement, not that the cancer is everywhere. The sentinel node is simply the first node to drain the tumor area. So women will tell me I had biopsy of the tumor and the sentinel node. And the sentinel node was clean, right? So then they wouldn't worry about the other lymph nodes in the area. Gentle lymph support, low inflammation, good immune tone, helps overall terrain. So you always want to, in the face of cancer going on in your body, just really keep that lymph moving. During active treatment, any lymph work should be gentle and coordinated with oncology. Okay. And then we have here a remarkable recent discovery. For over a century, scientists believed the brain had no lymphatic system. Only in the last decade did researchers uncover the glymphatic and meningeal lymphatic networks. So the meningeal structures, right, that are the meninges, which are rich in myelin and are involved with all the nerves. Tiny clearance pathways that quietly wash the brain during deep sleep and drain waste toward the neck. This discovery has completely changed our understanding of brain health, showing that sleep, breathing, and even neck mobility directly influence how the brain detoxifies and repairs itself. It's one of the most exciting breakthroughs in modern neurobiology. Super cool. Think about it. Your brain is getting cleansed as you sleep. And then that would be a perfect time. And that's when I tend to do my few minutes of rebounding and doing a lymphatic massage. And I didn't really happen to think, but that's really a great time to do it in the morning when you wake up, because you've drained that stuff toward the neck. And then I'm going to show you how to do a very simple lymphatic massage in a minute that you can do. And I do mine while I'm actually gently bouncing, which makes it like 10 times. It's like they work really well together. Very, very cool. So the brain's lymphatic systems, the glymphatic and meningeal. The lymphatic system clears waste from the brain while you sleep deeply. It's like overnight housekeeping for your neurons. Meningeal lymphatic vessels in the lining around the brain drain this waste and fluid down to the neck lymph nodes. Good sleep, easy nasal diaphragmatic breathing, and a relaxed mobile neck all help keep this brain drainage system working well. So a daily lymph routine, there's different things you can do. You don't have to do them all, but please, by all means, incorporate a few of these into your daily routine. Rebound, even for a few minutes. Rebounding creates gentle, repeated shifts in gravity that open and close the one-way lymph valves. This produces a powerful pumping effect that moves lymph far more efficiently than ordinary movement. So again, rebounding is more effective than just jumping up and down, jump roping, all movement is good for lymph, right? So dancing or whatever you want to do is good for lymph. But if you really want to work on the lymph and that's what your goal, the rebounding gives you a lot more bang for your buck. Breathe deeply. Slow diaphragmatic breathing acts like an internal pump, drawing lymph toward the chest. Aim for 3 to 5 relaxed breaths at a time throughout the day. Yeah, so just stop and do that. That seems like so easy to stop and do, but how many of us do it? I admit I don't think to do that. And then do a quick self-drainage sequence. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to stop my share for a second. I can't get my whole body here, but I'll just kind of give you the idea. So while I'm jumping on the trampoline, I bounce, 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 bounce. You start with the clavicle because the clavicle is like the main drain. So you go like this. You like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's rubbing. Then tap, 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 tap. Then circle, 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 circle. Do the same thing on this side. Then you go up here. You would think you'd start here, but you don't because I read one place where it said if you start here, it's like trying to flush your toilet before you clear the main drain, right? So you have to do the clavicle first. And then up here again, rub, 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 rub. Okay, do it on the other side. My body's going, wait a minute, do it on this side too. Then you go to the armpit, the axilla. So no, what did I do wrong? No, rub, 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 then circle, 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 circle. Okay, then you go to your abdomen. So don't try to pat your head at the same time. Okay, now you go to the groin, and you guys can't see that, but the groin, you know, the little areas, but just where your thighs meet your torso. And you do the same thing. Rub, 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 rub. You can do both sides at the same time here. And then tap, 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 tap. I just use my fingertips and kind of jab it in there for the taps. Then rub, rub with the fingertips so you can really kind of get down into that area and you're not just. And then the final place is behind your knee. So it's the same thing. I'm not going to do it because you can't see it, but you do the same thing behind your knees. Rub, 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 rub. Stop, 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 stop. Round, 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 round. And you have done your lymphatic massage. Now, maybe you can't do that while you're rebounding. Maybe you have a balance problem or something like that. And maybe you don't have a rebounder. Okay, so what is suggested is after you do that, make sure you bounce up and down, you know, just bounce like this. You could even do it while you were doing that. But I do it again while I'm gently bouncing the whole time. And so I'm getting like a really double lymphatic massage. Okay. All right. I hope you enjoyed. I was going to have Krista film me doing that whole body, and maybe I will do that eventually on my trampoline so you can all get a good laugh. But for now, let that suffice. Okay, we're back. Dry brush before showering. Light strokes toward the nearest lymph nodes stimulate superficial lymph vessels and enliven circulation. Dry brushing works because the skin is one of the richest areas of lymphatic vessels in the entire body. Just beneath the surface lies a vast network of delicate lymph capillaries that respond instantly to light directional strokes. I would think even like sitting here at your desk during the day or something, why not just do something like this, right? Or rub your legs, you know, why not? If there's that, yeah. Gentle brushing toward the nearest lymph nodes stimulates these superficial vessels, encouraging them to take up excess fluid, move cellular waste, and wake up sluggish lymph flow. It's a simple, quick way to activate one of the largest lymphatic beds in the body. Now, you can go online and you can find all kinds of resources to tell you the best way to do lymphatic brushing, right? Where to do it and what circular motion to go in and all that kind of stuff. But other things, stay hydrated. Lymph thickens when you're dehydrated. Steady water intake keeps it thin, fluid, and easy to move. Use lymph-supportive botanicals, like my lymphatic system support blend, which I'll go to right there. So this has, this is actually really a good formula of mine, if I do say so myself. So you can see the gallium, the cleavers is one of the cleavers and the red root are my top favorite plants for lymph. A premier lymphatic tonic. Cleavers promotes gentle decongestion of lymph nodes and supports the clearance of metabolic waste. Traditionally used in swollen glands and sluggish lymph flow. Red root, deeply stimulating to the lymphatic system, especially in the pelvic and abdominal regions, known to support spleen function and address lymphatic stagnation with associated tissue swelling or fluid retention. Red clover, leaf and flower. Burdock root, dandelion leaf, gotu kola, ginkgo biloba, yellow dock, prickly ash bark, parsley leaf, echinacea. Yeah, I mean, so this is kind of like a really, encourage your lymph to flow like a well-oiled railway, because when your drainage is on track, everything else moves smoother. So anyway. That's a good tonic herb for anybody to take. I mean, I'm not saying there's not a person out there who shouldn't take it for some reason, some medical reason, but for most people, that is one of my favorite tonic herbs that we make here at Wondrous Roots. And that is, I would put in that class, the super brain support, the vision, the wondrous sight, and the lymphatic system support, because they do so many, the plants and those things do so much for so many other areas of health in the body, and everyone can benefit from those. So sweat a little, warm showers, sauna, light exercise increase circulation and naturally support lymph movement. Unslump, open the chest, lengthen the spine, and release the neck. Posture affects lymph drainage more than most people realize. As I say, as I'm going like this. Unslump. Okay. And then there's professional lymphatic massage, right? What it is, a gentle specialized technique that uses light rhythmic strokes to help move lymph toward major drainage points. Why it helps: reduces puffiness and fluid buildup, eases congestion and heaviness, supports immune function and detox, deeply calming to the nervous system. It feels like very light skin level touch. It's not like working the kinks out of your muscles. When to consider it: if you have swelling, sluggish lymph, inflammation, or post-surgical recovery, with clearance from your doctor, of course. So that brings us to the end. Love your lymph, live your life. Your lymphatic system is your hidden wellness partner, clearing waste, defending your immunity, nourishing your tissues, and quietly keeping balance behind the scenes. So we can support it daily by moving, breathing, brushing, draining, hydrating, choosing some herbs, maybe sweat a little, open up your posture. Small, consistent habits make a powerful difference, because when your lymph flows, you flow. Thank you very much. All right. You have to admit, that was pretty fascinating. It's again, it just shows, what do I want to say? It shows how, again, so many simple things we can do can have a profound effect on our health. And when you're doing those other things to move your lymph, you're also doing, exercise is helping you in other ways. Rebounding is helping you in other ways. Breathing deeply is helping you in other ways. Hydrating is helping you in other ways. All of those things. And I just think the more we understand, at least the more I understand about how the body works, the more motivated I am to take care of myself and to take the time, make the effort to incorporate some of these things into my own life. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day. Cindy's like, thank you. I'm going to rebound now. And I was so jamming to finish this up today that I haven't rebounded yet either. So I'm going to rebound when I get home. Yeah, do it. And rebounding, what I love about rebounding, it only takes a few minutes a day. You have to rebound for a half hour. You don't have to rebound for 20 minutes. If you rebound for 5 minutes a day, you will benefit mightily. So go for it. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about next week. I'm going to go home and think about it. If you guys have anything, any kind of idea, shoot it to me in email or through my my contact us on one of my websites, and I'll consider it. I always like to know what you're interested in learning about. So take care, be well, enjoy the weekend. Bye, everybody.